Okay.
Okay. So I think we'll start now because it's already 6:42 and we're 12 minutes over the scheduled time.
Okay.
While others join in, there are issues. I've got a couple of calls from people in Jammu. It's raining very badly there, and signals being bad. Especially Saraf Saab called me. He says he's not able to log in because of bad signal. So I think we'll start as we progress. People will keep on joining. So.
Okay. That's fine.
Right. Good evening. I welcome you all to this session on inter-community Kath-Baath. It's being organized by Kashmir Policy and Strategy Group. So today we are here to talk about our festering wounds which have remained unhealed for more than 3 decades. Now, the renewed spate of killings has once again brought us to a standpoint where every Kashmiri is looking for an end to this madness. Now, we all know that there are multiple players in this arena. Our administration, central government, neighbors. But one thing is clear. What is clear is that the current measures by the administration have proved ineffective. So the government, the political machinery, the strategists, all of them have failed us. On the other hand, we've recently seen that both communities have come forward to raise a unified voice. This voice was raised towards condemnation of innocent killings, or even for prevention of the fresh wave of exodus that was about to happen recently. So, given this situation, given this background, there's a strong need for build-up of mutual trust across the communities. So, it's now left for us as a society to introspect and look for building up this mutual trust. So in light of the recent happenings, it is imperative for all of us to step up. It is in this context that we've called all of you today to come out and express your thoughts. So with that, I would want to start, but I would want to put in some ground rule first. There is a ground rule. I would request everyone to be on mute, and please unmute only if you are speaking. Additionally, we are recording this session and we'll be putting up this proceedings of this entire session on a link. I'll share the link with all the participants. With that, I now invite our chairman, Shri Ashok Bhanji, to put forth his opening comments. So, Bhan sir.
Okay. Good evening, friends. We are meeting today with a very important agenda, and the agenda being as spelled out by Mr. Sunil Wather, that the government of the day or governments in the past have virtually failed us in bringing over the peace and in bringing over the societal equanimity and societal trust between various communities, particularly in Valley. The only essential component of the Valley society being the Kashmiri Muslims, the Kashmiri Sikhs, and Kashmiri Pandits. All the three communities have suffered so colossally that we cannot count the immense miseries and sufferings we have gone through for the last 32 years, and there is hardly any retrieval or hardly any succor which has been given to the society. And in fact, the psyche and the freedoms of individuals, freedoms of communities, and right to life of the communities is day by day getting into peril. It has been imperiled by the death and destruction unleashed so far, and it does not take us anywhere, remaining ununited on an issue of right to survival, on an issue of right to existence. And each one of us have an existential stake in the context of Kashmir, because Kashmir is our own motherland, is our own Matrabhumi. And we not only have a richest heritage and ethos which we have inherited, that is in shambles, and the whole of the Kashmiri ethos for which the world has been proud, and a ray of hope, ray of light was seen at the time of very devastating circumstances in 1947 by father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, that he said that there is a ray of hope and ray of light in Kashmir, which should reach across the tunnel to rest of the country, and they must learn from Kashmir's mutual amity, mutual trust, and mutual confidence of the communities. So that era has gone. And I'm also conscious as a very keen student of Kashmir affairs, and I keep on coming and going to Kashmir, and I keep on almost every month, almost every fortnight being there in Kashmir. And I have a ground sense also that there is a sense of fatigue, there is a sense of despair, there is a sense of despondency, and there is a sense of fear also in the changed context also today, that people are sick of terrorist violence, people are sick of its consequential, collateral damages to the rights of individuals and rights of the society. And how long have we to go through this process is a mute question. Is it incumbent now in the present context, when in the recent spate of selected killings of innocent civilians, in which all sections, the Muslims, the Kashmiri Pandits, the Dogras, and some of the outsiders also, and our local policemen, JK police people also were targeted. And today the silver line is for the civil society that the entire civil society hit the streets, and also the political spectrum, who is who of this valley and Jammu, condemned such killings, and all the religious and spiritual leaders and also thought leaders of Kashmir condemned it left, right, and center, and said that enough is enough. How long can Kashmiri kill their own kith and kin Kashmiris for what? And there is an ecosystem of security which is in place against the terrorist violence. If the terrorists are on the run, they are not able to meet any targeted killings or targeting hittings of security forces, they revert to innocent citizens without any rhyme or reason. I know terrorism has no reason. And how long we have to, almost a generation of the civilians is in graveyards, almost a whole community of Kashmiri Pandits is in exile and is in peril. Whosoever goes there is targeted as a targeted kill. And the Sikh community is also at the receiving end. So that means the whole of the Kashmir civilization, as we put it, Kashmir society, of which there are three components, as I said, are at the sufferance. And we don't expect that government does its own duty whatever way it wants, but civil society and the society at large, Kashmiri society, may have to put their act together, rise to the occasion, and start a campaign of mutual trust and confidence and start unitedly looking at these situations in Kashmir and exert whatever moral, whatever spiritual, whatever pressure, insaniyat ka pressure, whatever we want to exert on the young gun-toting uh, youngsters of our own society. Make them realize that your life is very short. You take up the pistol or a gun, a week before, next week you are dead. So how long can it happen? And how long can we live in fear, in death and destruction? We have at least a right for a peaceful life in our own homeland. All the Kashmiris must live without fear in a terror-free atmosphere and enjoy the right to life. So for that, the small humble effort by our NGO of gathering the views of few of the concerned civil society leaders is this small humble token contribution, and we'll pool our thoughts and then physically also meet in Kashmir, in Jammu, in Delhi, wherever the Kashmiris are living, will meet and also emphasize at a later stage on the political spectrum and the government leaders also to help the process of reconciliation, the trust, and mutual accommodation. Kashmir, after all, has to live because peace is the sine qua non for any sustainable development. And Kashmiris deserve that. Therefore, in order to have our right to life in a peaceful atmosphere, we need to get together. So, my humble appeal to all of you would be that let us pool our resources, pool our thoughts, arrive at some understanding, and then take it forward in the interest of the peace and in the interest of the people of Kashmir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhan Saab, for those opening remarks. And I would now move on and request Janab Mohammad Shafiq Pandit Saab to share his thoughts with us. Pandit Saab, you're on mute. You will have to unmute yourself, sir.
Good evening to all of you, my friends. I must first of all congratulate the people who have set up this group, Kashmir Policy and Strategy Group, for bringing about reconciliation between the communities of Kashmir. This is an initiative which should have come long ago. It's already over-delayed, but we cannot delay it any further. So therefore, when the invitation came to me, I immediately welcomed it. And thank you, Ashok Bhan Saab, my friend, and Sunil Vatalji for giving the background to this. You have put the facts very, very lucidly. And what I would like to now do is, I would like to speak in Kashmiri rather than English. Because agar I say kashir I don't know how you guys will react to this. There are so many friends of mine here. I can see Mehraj, I can see others, what their views will be. You should Yizan tohi bonu yasa goes gaso isakaravi kushish isakarahu isakaravi. It's all so much welcome. Magar you should ask normal circumstances and mazan. To suju ki kya circumstances should prevail kara. But you tohi bonu zdobhe vedi thoda sa tasih karva evich you should doitru vedi. Because me should I'm khatri yad kya kurushat. Namtas was through the post divisional commissioner. So that was very closely connected with this whole scenario. The Deuter very gay was the Yastma Doran Yizan go تہٕ سُہ چھُ سارنٕے برونٛٹھ کَرُن, سُہ چھُنہٕ دۄہراونٕچ ضروٗرت کِہیٖنۍ. Unfortunately گٔے حالات گٔے تَمہِ طریٖقہٕ کہِ یَتھ منٛز وٕنکٮ۪س کَتھ کَرنَس تہِ چھُنہٕ وار. I hope you will all agree. اگر کانٛہہ وَنان چھُ کَتھ تَتھ چھُ یکدم یِوان موٹِوٕز اِنٹرڈیوٗٹ کَرنہٕ. یوٚتَتھ تانۍ اَتھ یہِ سُہ اکھ ماحول یی دِنہٕ کہِ أسۍ پانہٕ ؤنۍ کَرو کَتھ باتھ یَتھ کٲشِر پٲٹھۍ ٲسۍ وَنان بہٕ اوس ژھاسناوُن. یوٚتَتھ تانۍ سُہ یی کَرنہٕ توٚتَتھ تانۍ کیٛاہ گژھِ اَتھ, توٚتَتھ تانۍ کِتھ کٔنۍ ہٮ۪کو أسۍ کَتھ باتھ کٔرِتھ. یہِ چھُ گۄڈٕنِچ کَتھ وَنُن. بیٚیہِ چھُ دوٚیِم چیٖز مےٚ وَنُن یہِ کہِ یِم زَن حالات ریٖسنٛٹلی گٔے, تۄہہِ چھُو پَتہٕے کہِ کیٛاہ گوٚو. فِلم آیہِ ہاونہٕ سۄ یۄس زَن پٔزۍ پٲٹھۍ واقعاتَن پٮ۪ٹھ مبنی ٲس, تَتھ چھُنہٕ کٕہٕنۍ شک. مےٚ چھُ پانہٕ وٕچھمُت, مطلب کیٛاہ چھِ دَپان, ناٹ اونلی ڈیوٗرِنٛگ دَ پیٖریڈ کہِ ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ بہٕ ڈِوِجنل کٔمِشنر اوسُس تَمہِ پَتہٕ تہِ, مطلب آی بیٖن اَلایو ٹُو دَ سِچویشن کیٛاہ کیٛاہ سفرِنٛگٕس گٔے پنڈِت کٔمنِٹی اینڈ ٹُو سم ایکسٹینٹ سِکھ کٔمنِٹی, ناٹ سو مچ, مگر تیوٗت کٔرۍ تہِ وۄنۍ تہِ. مگر ایٹ دَ سیم ٹایم وَن ہیز ٹُو سی کہِ کیٛاہ یِہوے یوت چھا اَکوے پہلوٗ اکھ. یُس زَن یہِ فِلم آیہِ برونٛٹھ کُنتھ, أمۍ کوٚرا اکھ یہِ کیٛاہ چھِ دَپان کینٛہہ تیُتھ خٲلی صرف پوٚزُے یوتن پکنونا برونٛٹھ کِنہٕ اَتھ منٛز اوٚڑُے پوٚز پکناوُن برونٛٹھ. تِکیٛازِ خٲلی اوٚڑ پوٚز پکناوُن برونٛٹھ تہِ چھُنہٕ جان کَتھا کینٛہہ. تَمہِ سۭتۍ چھُ سُہ چھُ غلط فہمیے زیادٕ کِرٛییٹ کران بَنسبت یُس زَن یہِ کینٛہہ چھُ آسان یہِ ماحول خراب گوٚمُت سُہ ٹھیٖک کرنہٕ خٲطرٕ. تہٕ مےٚ چھُ وٕنکٮ۪نس یَتھ سِٹیجَس پٮ۪ٹھ وَنہٕ بہٕ یُتُے یوت. بیٚیہِ چھُ ترٛیٚیِم چیٖز یُس زَن مےٚ وَنُن چھُ سُہ گوٚو آداد شُمار. آداد شُمار چھُ واریاہ چیٖز چھِ یِوان وَننہٕ کہِ مطلب ییٖتۍ چھِ سا موٗدۍ ہورٕ, ییٖتۍ چھِ سا موٗدۍ یورٕ, تہٕ مگر تَمہِ خٲطرٕ یا یہِ ہسا گٔے زیادٕ تہِ ہُہ اَکہِ کٔمنِٹی ہِنٛز, بیٛاکھ گٔے ہُمہِ کٔمنِٹی ہِنٛز ییٖژ زیادٕ. اَتھ چھُنہ یہِ مُمکِن کہِ اکھ کٔمِشنر اکھ بَنہِ یِتھ کٔنۍ زَن کینٛژَن اوپیٖنین لیٖڈٲرسَن ہِنٛز تہِ آیہِ سَجیشن کہِ ٹروٗتھ اینڈ رِکنسِلیشن کٔمِشن. اگر زَن پٔزۍ پٲٹھۍ کانٛہہ تیُتھ با اعتبار اِنسان آسہِ ہا یُس زَن تَتھ کٔمِشنَس ہیڈ کرِ ہا, یا یُس زَن تٔمِس سۭتۍ آسان وابستہٕ تِم تہِ آسان با اعتبار اِنسان, تِمن برونٛٹھ کَنۍ یِن یِم سٲری فیکٹس اینڈ فِگٲرٕس تھاونہٕ. تِکیٛازِ یہِ چھُ واریاہ ڈاکیومینٹ گوٚمُت کمپلیٖٹلی. یہِ چھَنہٕ تِژھ کَتھا کینٛہہ کہِ یہِ نہ یہِ ژوٗرِ ژھیٚپہِ چھُ کانٛہہ چیٖز. یِم چھِ سٲری فیکٹس آمٕتۍ ڈاکیومینٹ کرنہٕ. مےٚ باسان یوٗت کٔشیٖرِ پٮ۪ٹھ لیکھنہٕ آو 1990 پتہٕ تیوٗت آسہِ نہٕ کُنہِ سبجیکٹس پٮ۪ٹھ آمُت لیکھنہٕ. لہذا یِم سٲری فیکٹس فِگٲرٕس چھِ تِم یِن برونٛٹھ کَنۍ تَتھ کٔمِشنَس برونٛٹھ کَنۍ ترٛاونہٕ. یہِ گوٚژھ کَتھ ژھانٛژراونہٕ پوٗرٕ پٲٹھۍ نہ یہِ گوٚژھ یہِ دۄد الگ تہٕ آب الگ نیرُن. یُتُے یوت چھُ مےٚ وَنُن. مےٚ چھُنہٕ زیادٕ وَنُن کینٛہہ, بہٕ ہٮ۪کہٕ نہٕ اَمہِ علاوٕ ؤنِتھ کینٛہہ. شُکریہ.
Thank you, Pandit Sahab. Thanks a lot. That was very, very eye-opening. So I'll now move on to Dr. Mehrajuddin Sahab. So Dr. Mehrajuddin Sahab.
Ogra Sahab tey şu yeti. Ogra Sahab.
Please come up next.
Adab. Vaziya dost shit.
Mehrajuddin Sahab, adab. Adab. Janab Mohtaram Hazreen, Assalamu alaikum, adab, and good evening to all of you. Ashi bad mashkoor, we are Asha ka nan Kashmiri grupos mans.
No, it's very Kashmiri. You can continue.
Then Pandit Sahab has taken a very good lead. He has spoken in Kashmiri, and I think as Karavis Panun Bos Lasrao, Kashmiri must cut Karnas with you. Yimo Farmo. Aya Bush's Ban, someone Bad Mashkur, Kazi Yeli as Rat, him phone core, Mus Basa, him no doubt, Mus Badal commitment. Kazi Mepo Yad, Yelium Warrior locators, Srinagar Baras Mazim Baja lecture Divan. That way I tell him that you are my guru, despite the fact he may be younger in age to me. You see, initiative, Pandit new name society, you should but welcome. Janab Muhammad Shafi Pandit Saban Sahi Farmo Adgo late Varia, but nevertheless it is better to be late than never. It's a hakikat ke yete ye ban Saban Sahi Farmo asi yostika community chahe Muslim Pandit Sikh is har kansh kor safar panni side مے چھ باسان یہ ہر کان دیم family یوس victim بنیے one way or the other way. مگر آج یہ سنیریو چھو کہ کان چھنو باران کات کرنس ساری چھ پریفر کران ژھوپ کرتھی روزنس سوے ژھوپ چھ ونکس پورٕ جموں کشمیرس منٛز کُنہِ تہِ جایہِ کانٛہہ تہِ چھُنہٕ بولان ہٮ۪کان بوٗلِتھ مگر امیُک نتیٖجہٕ درٛاو یہِ کہِ اَسہِ یُس مِلژار ییٚتہِ اوس اَسہِ اوس نہٕ کنسٮ۪پٹٕے آسان یِمن بچن کیٛاہ کُس گوٚو مُسلمان کُس گوٚو ہیوٚن کیٛاہ گوٚو پنڈت کیٛازِ سانٮ۪ن سکوٗلن منٛز یۄس ایجوکیشن چھِ بہٕ چھُس یہِ ہمیشہِ ایڈمِٹ کران اینڈ ویریس نیشنل انٹرنیشنل فورمن پٮ۪ٹھ we owe it to our Kashmiri friends. They were the first generation learners. I say first generation learners. Tindi sit huchaisi alibiyati. Yus asiman primary school, government primary school manzos mandon jan walwal. Because sari had boat yus asi ban saman farmos Gandhi June's concept of peace. Yos asi poor iman barn sanis at demagas maski humanity kya gay values kya gay. انسانیت کیا گئی یہ سکول پہ دماغس مز یہ ایجوکیٹ کرنے نتیجہ گو برو برو پکان یہ سوری ہچان مگر آج بدقسمتی آج گو اسے ٹرسٹ ڈیفسٹ کھڑا بان صبن صحیح فرمو کان تہ گورنمنٹ ٲسۍتن کانٛہہ تہِ پاورز ایٹ د ہیلم آف افیئرز ات یُس یہ ٹرسٹ ڈیفسٹ اس گو ات ہیوٚک نہٕ کٲنٛسہِ ایڈرس کٔرِتھ بلکہ چھُ دۄہ پتہٕ دۄہ یہِ بڑٲنی بیٚیہِ چھِ کینٛہہ نفر یہ پنڈت صٲبن صحیح فرمو تمن کیا انٹرسٹ آسان ویسٹرن انٹرسٹ کیا خدا بہتر زانا نیورتھ لیس تم ات پہ تیلن تراوان گون تراوان یُتھ زیادہ فلیر اپ گژھِ تمچ ایگزامپل دِژ پنڈت صٲبن ریسنٹ فلم یم ہائی لائٹ کور اکھ پارٹ بیاکھ پارٹ کورُن اگنور حقیقت چھ اٹراسٹیز گئی سارنٕے سۭتۍ اٹراسٹی گئی سارنٕے سۭتۍ واریاہن سۭتۍ سٲنۍ کشمیری پنڈت یہندِ سۭتۍ ونکس اگر کانٛہہ ایجوکیٹڈ چھُ اٹ از آل بیکاز آف دیم تمو کوٚر زیادٕ سفر مگر اتھ منٛز چھِ مےٚ کنسڈرڈ اوپینین وچ آئی ایکسپریسڈ تھرو آوٹ انڈیا اینڈ ایون آوٹ سائڈ انڈیا یتھ ساری منٛز کوٚر سفر ساروی کھۄتہٕ زیادٕ تِم یم بلو پاورٹی لائن ٲسۍ میون کشمیری پنڈت بوے یا کشمیری مسلمان یُس ویل آف اوس ییٚمِس ادروائز سیٹلڈ اوس ہیر اینڈ دیر تم کور نہٕ تیوٗت سفر یوٗت أکۍ کشمیری پنڈتن یُس گامس منٛز اوس بسان ییٚمِس پوٗرٕ یہِ ریٖزِک زیادٕ اوس آرچٲرڈس ٲسِس فارمز ٲسِس باقٕے چیٖز ٲسِس ییٚمِس نہٕ نیبرٕ زیادٕ جمہِ نیبر پایی ٲس کہِ انڈیا کیٛاہ چھُ سٲنۍ پٲٹھۍ اوس سُہ آسان أتھۍ پٮ۪ٹھ تٔمۍ بِچارن کوٚر زیادٕ سفر تِموٕے یِمن پتہٕ ٹینٹن منٛز روٗدۍ جیٚمہِ in the beginning of this militancy yeti timan sarf top gunsu top waqi bane tim shikar be bakin cheezan te bane tim shikar te ye chu wankes chunu zyada moka ye asi kat karno kihin magar me chu arz karun ki wankes im halat ashi ban saban kori analyze further pandit samanti analyze ونکس زیادہ تر جموں کشمیرک یوتھ a good number of them چھِ بنیمٕتۍ drug addicts a good number of them چھِ psychic patients a good number of our youth is suffering from mental disease because of the various circumstances various factors which perhaps I shall not be in a position to explain because of the paucity of the time تو یہ چھُ وجہ مےٚ چھُ باسان یُس یہِ این جی او یتھ بہٕ چھُس پنڈت صٲبس جوین کران مبارکبٲدی پیش کران کہ ٹھیک چھُ اگر ژیٖرِ تہِ گٔے کھڑا اگر أسۍ یتھ یُس یہِ ٹرسٹ ڈیفسٹ دۄہ پتہٕ دۄہ چھُ بڑان ایسپیشلی اسہِ دۄن باین پانہٕ ؤنۍ کشمیری پنڈتن کشمیری مسلمان سکھ تہٕ عیسٲۍ چھِ اتھ منٛز انوالو اگر أسۍ اتھ اٹینڈ ہٮ۪کو کٔرِتھ ایڈرس ہٮ۪کو کٔرِتھ ٹو سم ایکسٹینٹ despite the powers they may be contrary to it agar es at mans kyen hekko contribution karit me chu basan es sari chu bod bar jihad hekko es wenith chu bod bar jihad on our part agar es kuni humanity aspects attend karo be hekko koshish karit ki su trust deficit as go yat mans varia forces koshish karan gos dopa do ye wedge badun kyas timan chu tami mas foyde nera تو نتیجہ چھُ گژھان کہ انسانیت چھِ سفر گژھان بہٕ چھُس بان صٲبس واتل صٲبس بیٚیہِ اتھ سارنٕے اَمِکۍ علاقہٕ چھِ مبارک بٲدی دِوان تہٕ أسۍ چھِ جناب پوٗرٕ تۄہہِ سۭتۍ at missioners months. The Kunti Jai Yisrain contribution Ashi. Says Baje Bian Ogra Sabas Malakat Gomut. Of late, we were very fortunate. Yama, you are Kizon Jain Go Malakat, Magar dry, Pai Kapur dry. Bilkul recently as in Kashmir. The Ban Sep Shima Magar in Havik Patimata Havik Panera Wapas. Payachan Tamankas. Kundo Karav Biamo Axdo Chai Srinagar Jemi Adili Yetu Farmayu. The Aki Canvas as Brown. 4-5 नफर या 10-15 नफर हेकन न मैटर करित कहीं ये कनवास गछ वारिया बोर्ड बनन ये गछ ने नेशनल यूथ कन्फाइन गछन बल्कि अच्छी केन नफर यम लाइक माइंडेड छ बाण सब छ वातल सब छ या पंडित सब छ ओगरा सब छ यम मुख्तलिफ मुल्कन मस काम छ करान तम हेको आइडेंटिफाई करित तम च करन अस जॉइन मुमकिन छ अगर अस थोड़ा सा प्रेशर facts brought paknao, post brought paknao, truth finally prevail gatsa. Tabai chegasa. It's scholars post pazant, it's scholars shu alam daza, magar finally chu post pazan. Meshubasa, son mission yemi NGO shuki, I should pose hakikat, facts simply in the name of insaniyat brought paknawan, Meshubasa, inshallah, the Khuda isne mat said. Gasa Atmas Kamyab. Shukriya, Watal Sahab. Ban Sahab, बहुत शुक्रिया.
Thank you, thank you, Professor Saab. The next time is the most poor Mesbani on the poor chance. It is next time, I'll request Ban Sahab, Agra Sahab also. The career first class pet host. Let's go poor Diluk Bad.
Zoro.
Thank you.
Dil Chab se na बहुत चलाता है. बहुत चलाता है.
Right.
Bhavana, एक चीज है तो Watal Sahab. Do you know? I have been brought up in Pandit family. Me was dosak. Acha Bhavana एक example is बड़े relevant example छे. तमिस was mol headmaster Ravinder Razdan was Ravinder Mutu was dedmit Khanka basa dedmit sokta Khanka sokta basa. Amis go paralysis attack amis. Imo kor jump shift. Believe me, MC native doctor Razdan one me Papa Jushi Biamar. Bugos ami James Samkhani. You three embus side chorus part the shaver. You what bad thought and he started talking. He started you also as a panwin miltar, which we have lost unfortunately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So with that, moving on, I would move over to Ogra Sahab, Ashok Ogra Sahab.
Namaskar, Pandit Sahab, Namaskar, Adab, Merajin Sahab, Ban Sahab, Batul Sahab and others. Each is the pehlu yaad. Akchu using Pandit Sahab and bada khoobsurat bol reconciliation and perhaps truth commission. Suchu, that's a long drawn process. There are other stakeholders involved in it. That is important, but that will take time. I think my focus, my priority right now is, jo Mir Saab ne bola, is how do we remove the trust deficit and increase the constituency of those who become each other's ambassadors. So that Kashmiri Pandits speak for Kashmiri Muslims on average. We are not saying that we have to speak for the militants. And similarly, the Muslims of Kashmir speak about the plight or the need for return of Kashmiri Pandits. It's and in your constituency, it's a very small constituency, which is active. But it is very large, which is silent, but which wants it, which is in agreement with it. So therefore, I think if we can keep the political part out of it, which is slightly more long-term, but focus on people-to-people contact and increase that constituency. And both in Delhi, in Jammu, in Jagati camp, in Pulwama, in Tral, in Srinagar, at this stage. And there is a possibility because there are well-meaning people and the majority is that. Let me tell you this. And the good thing that has happened is that there is a greater realization. This is my feeling, I could be wrong. Batan mazdi ke hai Musalmanov to Kursafar. And there is a greater realization among the Muslims that yes, Pandits have suffered, which has already been there. The number two, in any dialogue of such nature, we avoid the comparisons of the tragedy. You should very difficult justify. So focus on people-to-people contact, building bridges, getting to know each other, getting to know each other's point of view, and strengthen and speak for each other in various forums that we can do. And may I also take this opportunity to offer our condolences on the passing away of Pandit Saab's sister. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ogra Saab.
Thank you.
पंडित साहब,
जी
शफी साहब,
फरमाए.
ये कब की बात है सिस्टर?
This happened on 5th of May.
मजिद साहब की मिसेज या?
No, मजीद साहब की मिसेज नहीं, दूसरा नासिर की मदर.
अच्छा, नासिर की मदर. अच्छा, मैं खुदा उनको राम जन्नतुल फिरदौस अता करे.
Thank you so much. Chairman साहब, मे छा इजाज़त अख जरा ये वेचस वनस clarification देने. सो गो ये कि मे छुनी from a political angle won ne me Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So I'm चीज की वना तिकाज ये गछि ब्रोड कुन गछि गछुन तिकाज ये क्लियर कि हस हुमो सफर करबो दिमो सफर करबो तो कूता गो क्या गो सु ठीक. That can come in terms of figures. But the political aspect is not my concern in this case. So I
knew it. What I was trying to say is that is a long term which will take time.
Gono to matlab esh tat mahol sun basis rota karanagar to pata me shu pormut National High School. National High School, which had been set up by Pandit community, and tat school as mazan yetsan asi diniyata istibandhan patna. You should, and by a Muslim scholar who he was teaching us. Me was just one minute I'll take you to kya feelings as. Pandit Aftab
Kalam Rojan Zindai Mechu Diniyat Pormut Maulvi Sabasni.
Right.
National School, yes. I have also read, and I know it.
Pandit Aftab Ram. So was like the Ibsadani. At school Parnaman, I was like Kevameza, Tuta, Zulated, Patos one, I think. Which was one time I go, it take a tour Zilla, one Shefi, which is Yatsan, Kitsugosu, Governor Banun, because it's a reader Banun. You should exact words. So go to Governor Banun, because it's a reader Banun. Governor Banun, Governor was Timosan Commissioner, Divisional Commissioner. This is 50s. And it actually happened, but unfortunately I could not even communicate to him because he was not in that state of health at that point of time. But you should want to feelings you should Pandit Master you go higher levels, higher echelons of it. So you should, I talk about when I was in the 5th primary. Which we jamo to time sad param yim as feelings time sad yos aise panwen badiyam che itheka pames Pandit dost asa te was pani guide rozan bosus kuch sad tejib guide bihit paran karan yim as feelings asa aise na akikis bagar ka itheka yacha jai student I was sodu hamesha Pandit families on se city close connection and bilkul barabar bhaichara vananti so bara juti osda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So with that, we move on. So we have with us Sri Raj Nehru ji. Raj Nehru, sir, comments from you.
Ji, namaskar. Adab. Am I audible?
Yes, Nehru sir, you are audible. Please.
Thank you. So first of all, my greetings to all. You can say Shaitannath call it Ashok ji. Shukriya kara ki timo blows bitiyat lock meeting was. It's a very noble effort. Oh, I was hearing ki we have to build trust. We should not be focusing on building trust because it's a very deceptive kind of thought process. इंसानन मज बड़ manipulative habits im sat is wanan is kya karo. So rather than we agar is group initiate karo Ashok ji, agar ye group focus kari, to be very honest on admitting certain things and sharing with each other with honesty, and then work on including more and more people. See, everyone has a story to share. Har side agar to button inside gets to Timan Ice with story goes down Katra. Agar to Musliman side gets Timan Ice with story. Agar to Sardar gets Timan Ice with story. Everyone will have a story of their own. So agar ye group is to create karo using let people share their stories, because Nabasan using when is fanana is there is so much of stress in the society. Some people are turning towards drugs, some people are turning towards some bad habits. It's also because people have so much stress inside them that one, they don't get the right place to share that, and two, there is no mechanism to handle that, effective mechanism. So agar ye forum using shuru chigam, agar ye forum yes opportunity create kare, itan thoda sa we are able to share our stories in a very lucid way and in a very enabling way. Itan is akhik sin jazbaat te hako handle kare, respect kare, to magar stories te hako share kare. Kaise mein basan, we are in middle of war of perceptions, and agar be war of narratives. So agar is panmin tooth ka narrative create karo using society ab jaan message di, that may help us to move on our desired thing. But it's a good thing to begin with, and I'm glad कि आख opportunity me जिधर सको slowly पन चीज share करें बे honestly move करें तो जन का motive गश्ना आसुन कैसे because motive इश बत kill करान सोरे initiative. So अगर इस honestly पका and slowly be enough can jodo me basan this is one good thing. We will have people even who will still continue to have a different view, but that's okay. Every society has that. Jaan nafar ti asan, kharab ti asan, but it jaan walen se jaan kam karin, kharab walen se kharab kam karin. But jaan wale agar panin jaan kam karan, there's a time ultimately dunya asman shun ka nafar yemisne ultimately kunyu kun asman dilasmas love and affection is. So agar ye effort team love the affection is hai ki rekindle kare, I'm for John Noble Commission ka. Thank you.
Rajji, thank you. Thanks a lot for your kind words. Just for everybody's knowledge, Rajji is a VC Winkenes, Vishwakarma University, and he actually left a corporate job to get into public service. So he's a very dynamic person, and he's done a lot for the society per se. So thank you, Rajji. So with that, I move over.
Kari Mubarak, I kitab release, Watal sir.
I kitab release.
Kitab release.
Acha Mehraj sir, oh sorry, I didn't see that. Other words. Extremely sorry, sir.
Join chai.
Is that Rajji bunda ye? Akaksu vay banan pan dayad kahani is a banan. You should go so using me video commission. You should basically idea time to just bastat when you may want a political just bastat.
Right.
Thank
you. Thank you. So we move over to Mr. BL Saraf. Saraf sir, Saraf sir, पे unmute करूँ.
शब बोझन में आया कथा है आवाज आया
बिल्कुल.
नमस्कार था आदाब अर्ज पंडित साहब आदाब अर्ज में आदाब अर्ज सारनी नमस्कार बान साहब वातल जी बेशक कथवन से मैं बोझन छमा कथा बोझन शुक्रिया ये महाराज बड़े नफीस कथ बड़े असल इनिशिएटिव कि पानवई समोवस कशिर मुसलमान कशिर बट बे कागर का रलि पानवई बोस लथराओ कथ करो मैंने खतर ये दोयम एक्सरसाइज दोयम इनिशिएटिव योत बड़ वन बह अगर कथ बड़ गि बहुत पत्मो 15-30 वरियों पे ना ये ट्रेजेडी गई मे फर्म बिलीफ कि सरकार कर पन काम फौज कर पन काम تم کران تمو کر تم مگر اگر اصلی صحیح معنن مز پائیدار گژھِ حالاتن گژھن ٹھیک گژھن کشیر منز اَسہِ گژھِ پانہٕ ؤنۍ بھائی چارٕ گوٚو تَمہِ خٲطرٕ ہسا چھُ ضروٗری کٲشرِس مُسلمانس کٲشرِس بٹس پانہٕ ؤنۍ کتھ باتھ کرٕنۍ چنانچہ أتھۍ سلسلس منٛز گوس بہٕ سنس 2010 منٛز أکِس اِنِشیٹِو سۭتۍ جُڑیوس بہٕ تَتھ وَنان ٲسۍ CDR. There was an what you call the initiative of initial source of NGO اکھ تتھ سۭتۍ گٔے أسۍ کوٚر أسۍ جوین شاید پنڈت صٲبس تہِ ما آسہِ تمیُک کم زیادٕ کینٛہہ آیڈیا ہیوٗ اَسہِ کٔر سنس 2010 پٮ۪ٹھٕ سنس 2015 تام تقریباً آسان ٲسۍ پرٛٮ۪تھ دۄیہِ ترٛیٚیہِ سمکھان یا سرینگرٕ یا ٲسۍ سمکھان أسۍ کٔشیٖرِ یا جیٚمہِ یا ٲسۍ کُنہِ جیٚمہِ تہِ اتھ سلسلس منٛز سۭتۍ کٔر اَسہِ واریاہ لٹہِ گٔے اکھ زٕ اوکیجنز کہِ اَسہِ آیہِ اپٲرۍ یِم لُکھ تہِ مطلب POK پٮ۪ٹھ تہِ آیہِ لُکھ پاکستان پٮ۪ٹھ تہِ آیہِ لُکھ تمہِ کِس اِنِشیٹِو سۭتی کٔر اَسہِ کتھ باتھ تہٕ چلیو یہِ 2014-15 تام پتہٕ حالات بدلے پتہٕ بدلیو سُہ سیٲسی تناظری بدلیو سیٲسی نقشے بدلیو چنانچہ گوٚو پتہٕ سُہ 2015 پٮ۪ٹھٕ گوٚو سُہ ٹھپٕے گوٚو أکۍ قٕسمُک آز ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ تۄہہِ بان صٲبن یا بادل صٲبن یہِ بیٚیہِ کوٚر اِنِشیٹِو شروٗع مےٚ گٔے پٔزۍ پٲٹھۍ بسرت کیازِ بہٕ چھُس کران کہِ آی فیٖل سم باے آر وِنڈِکیٹِڈ کہِ یُس ہسا مےٚ پنُن کم زیادٕ پننہِ لۄکٹہِ سونٛچہِ مُطٲبِق یُس زن میٲنۍ اکھ یہِ ٲس اکھ نظریہ اکھ اوس اہن سا اتھ سۭتۍ چھِ فالو کرن وٲلۍ یہِ ہسا گژھِ آسُن مےٚ چھُ پوٗرٕ فرم بِلیٖف کہِ اگر پانہٕ ؤنۍ أسۍ سمکھو نہٕ پانہٕ ؤنۍ أسۍ کتھ کرو نہٕ کٕہٕنۍ سرکار ہیٚکہِ نہٕ مدد کٔرِتھ کانٛہہ فوج ہیٚکہِ نہٕ اَسہِ مدد کٔرِتھ کینٛہہ بہٕ دِمہٕ تمِچ اکھ مثال ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ یہِ پیکیج یہِ چھُ وٕنکیٚن ریلِوینٹ تہِ پلیٖز اگر تُہۍ کُنہِ جایہِ نوٹ تہِ کٔرِو ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ یہِ PM پیکیج گوٚو سٹارٹ یِمن مُلٲزمن ہُنٛد 2009 منٛز گوٚو یہِ بنیو یہِ SRO اکھ انفولڈ گوٚو یہِ 2010 منٛز ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ بہٕ چھا ما کتھ چھےٚ مےٚ یِوان بوزان چھوا ہیلو کتھ چھا ما یِوان میٲنۍ سوری یہِ مانا گوٚو 2010 منٛز 10 منٛز گوٚو انفولڈ اِنِشلی آیہِ اتھ منٛز واریاہ مُشکلات بچو مون نہٕ کیٛاہ سا تِمن ٲسۍ جینوِن ایپریشنز پتہٕ بہرحال کِتھ کٔنۍ گٔے تِم تیار گٔے تِم کٔشیٖرِ روٗدۍ تِم 2010 پٮ۪ٹھ 2015-16 تام روٗدۍ تِم تقریباً ٹھیٖک پٲٹھی کیازِ تِمن آو نہٕ باقٕے تِمن ٲس لاجِکس پرابلم ٲس تِمن جایہِ تنگی ٲس تِمن پرابلم نوکری ہٕنٛز کینٛہہ پرابلم ٲس یہِ چھُ مگر تِمن کوٚر نہٕ یہِ زانٛہہ یہِ ہیٚکہٕ بہٕ بڑٕ وثوٗق سان ؤنِتھ بڑٕ ذِمہٕ وٲری سان چھُس بہٕ یہِ کتھ ونان کیازِ بہٕ اوسُس اتھ دوران کٲشِر تِمن بچن سۭتۍ اکثر انٹریکٹ کران تھروٗ دیٹ CDR یا پنُن پٲٹھۍ تہِ تِمو کٔر نہٕ کٲنٛسہِ کٔر نہٕ شکایت کہِ اَسہِ ہسا چھُ فِزِکل خطرٕ اَسہِ ہسا چھُ نیبر نیرنس منٛز کُنہِ جایہِ تھرٛٹ ہاں جایہِ ہٕنٛز پرابلم ٲسٕکھ سکیورٹی یۄس مطلب کیٛاہ چھِ ونان سٔروِس پرابلم ٲسٕکھ مگر یہِ کوٚر نہٕ تِمو زانٛہہ اتھ کیٛاہ چھُ یہِ دِل اَسہِ کینٛہہ تتھ چھُ یہِ نٔتیٖجہٕ کہِ ییٚمہِ وِزِ یہِ شروٗع گوٚو تمہِ ساتَے درٛایہِ کٔشیٖرِ ہٕنٛز سِول سوسایٹی بہٕ وَنہٕ اگر مےٚ ویوٚٹھ گژھِ نہٕ کتھ وَنٕنۍ اگر مےٚ اِف ناٹ ٹُو پے فار اِٹ تمہِ وِزِ درٛایہِ ہُریتٕکۍ تِمو تہِ دیُت بیان نسا یِم چھِ بچہِ اَسہِ آمٕتۍ یِم چھِ سٲنۍ بچہِ یِم ہسا چھِ اَسہِ سٲنۍ ذِمہٕ وٲری چنانچہ روٗدۍ تِم 17 18 19 تام روٗدۍ تِم تتہِ سڈنلی کیازِ گوٚو یہِ حالات خراب یہِ چھُ وۄنۍ بوٚڑ بحث اتھ چھِ واریاہ ریٖزنٕز میون وَنُن چھُ کہِ یوٚتانۍ زن کٔشیٖرِ ہُنٛد سِول سوسایٹی اَسہِ سۭتۍ پکہِ نہٕ یا أسۍ پکو نہٕ تِمن سۭتۍ مسلہٕ گژھِ نہٕ حل اتھ سۭتۍ چھم بیاکھ کتھ جُڑِتھ وۄنۍ کٔشیٖرِ ہٕنٛدۍ سِول سوسایٹی یا سٲنۍ کٲشِر پٲٹھۍ بدسمتی سان سنہٕ 15 پٮ۪ٹھ کٔرٕکھ یہِ ڈی لیجِٹِمایز یِمن دِتُکھ یِہٕنٛز کٔرٕکھ اہمیتی ختم کٔشیٖرِ منٛز تہِ کٔرٕکھ ختم ییٚتہِ تہِ کٔرٕکھ ختم تیُتُے یوت کوٚرُکھ نہٕ یِم زن مین سٹریٖم پالِٹِشنز سٲنِس اتھ سۭتۍ ٲسۍ تِم تہِ کٔرٕکھ لیجِٹِمایز تِمن تہِ کوٚرُکھ حق ختم یوٚتانۍ زن نہٕ کٔشیٖرِ ہُنٛد باسہِ سیاست گٔے الگ یوٚتانۍ زن نہٕ کٲشُر مُسلمانس باسہِ کہِ مےٚ حظ چھےٚ کانٛہہ وُکت اگر بہٕ کتھ کرٕ مےٚ حظ بوزِ کانٛہہ کتھ یہِ نہٕ سُہ ژھانڈِ آزٲدی سُہ ژھانڈِ پٲکِستان سُہ دِیَس نہٕ کانٛہہ نہ سا کتھ بوزٮ۪س تہِ نہٕ کانٛہہ مگر ییٚمہِ وِزِ سُہ جینوِن حقوٗقن ہٕنٛدۍ خٲطرٕ کتھ کرِ جینوِن رِکَنسِلیشنَس خٲطرٕ کتھ کرِ یوٚتانۍ نہٕ تٔمِس تہِ کانٛہہ بوزن وول آسہِ اگر وۄنۍ بوزٮ۪س تہِ نہٕ کانٛہہ کھوٚٹ گژھٮ۪س نہٕ تھپھ دیُن کانٛہہ پنڈت صٲبن وۄنۍ کتھ آز چھُ پیٚوان کھوژُن 4 لٹہِ کتھ کرنہٕ برونٛٹھ یوٚتانۍ زن نہٕ تِمن سُہ احساس دوٗر گژھِ مےٚ تہِ گژھِ نہٕ جیٚمِس منٛز احساس دوٗر کہِ اگر ہسا بہٕ کٲشِر مُسلمانن سۭتۍ کتھ کرٕ بہٕ یِمہٕ نہٕ ماننہٕ مےٚ تہِ نہٕ کینٛہہ ٹُکڑیو گینگ یا بدل بدل گینگ کیٛاہ چھِ لگان بہٕ یِمہٕ تتھ سۭتۍ جوڑٕ تتھ توٚتانۍ چلہِ نہٕ یہِ کانٛہہ کتھ گژھِ صاف گژھٕنۍ کتھ گژھِ واضح پٲٹھۍ گژھٕنۍ ییٚتٮ۪تھ ژٔلے ٹرٛوتھ رِکنسِلیشن کٔمِشن کتھ یہِ تہِ گوٚو ڈسکس تتھ منٛز CDR मन कत कर या इनिशिएटिव चले कत चले यह असल सब्जेक्ट मगर बह कर गुजारिश वातल सबस बह कर गुजारिश बान सबस बह कर गुजारिश पंडित सबस कि अमे खत थो तुम अलग कह प्रोग्राम अत मन कथ यम जन जवजी यथ मन कथ यम जन ब्रो पकान या इन पकान मगर अत मुतलक कत कर लाजिम क्या योतान पोज पज तोतान दपान अंदन कह मगर तावन में पेमुत ट्रुथ हूज ट्रुथ पोज कम सुंद पोज मे वना हूं पोजा हिंदुस्तान पोजा पाकिस्तान पजक चक्रस मन मे कत याद दपान सच बढ़े घटे या बढ़े सच नहीं रहता है झूठ की कोई इंतहा नहीं लिहाजा योतान तुम अलग पे बेहमो अलग पे सोचो कि नसा कत करो तिम पैरामीटरन पे गोटर कंसल्टेशन लगुन तोतान चल यह कत ब्रो मगर असल अहम टॉपिक अत पे कत कर ब्रो अत पे कत कर बह कर गुजारिश मगर सह एक्सक्लूसिवली कुछ सात सिटिंग बन बे चीज गुजारिश बे वन कि बहुत ब्रो वन अगर कुछ सात इज्जत करान पान वन लफ्ज कह कत हालांकि वन गई 5-6 वरी गई मे बंदी पान चले कत चलान बह करो कमिस कत या कत कर पोजिशन में तो रूद वन अगर वन कुछ कह कत बनान कह सेक्शन करान कत तथ दिल मज टीवी स्टेशन मज बिहित बाकी जायन बिहित ती तत वन दपान तमें जन वन बह क्या कत कर बहुत पागल क्या that ecosystem is being created where I myself feel that I am out of my mind. Please, you should initiative button fees, initiative gets a promote pakun, ban sab shukriya, wadal sab shukriya, pandit sab shukriya, Professor Mirza sab adabars, butya also la parnaban toshmesh kormut ke, timonti mon shukriya. Namaskar Mahara, namaskar. Agar mauke diyo pat kar be bete kat. Filhal ko unke namaskar.
Thank you, Saraf sir. We now have with us Imtiaz Chasti sahab. Imtiaz sahab, are you there? Imtiaz sahab shayad
आदाब
नहीं Imtiaz sahab.
मोहतरम वारिया कथ गई मे याद 2023 मज तरियोस बह जोम जगती कैंपस मज बायन समखन अस करो तिमन तत वनो कत तिमन मामूली यथ वन मेल हो पान वन मगर गरस मज खुशी खानदर कह यम सात मज कंस खानदर तमिस बट बई हमसाय तमिस पज 10 कशर बटन ति इनवाइट कर खानदरस पे यथे कशरस बटस यम सात जम्मिस मज या दिल्ली मज खानदर बचस सह श्रीनगर कन पड़ोसियन ति इनवाइट करान यह अम यह 2014 पे करान वन वनकस चीज कि ट्रुथ रिकन्सिलेशन कर पंडित सबन कत ओत्र आई फिल्म अत मज कह सीन तिम तमन जन बाबत ये FIR षनमत कह इंसिडेंट्स तिम कुन जाए कह पुलिस कह यह दिवान क्या यह वाक़ा गोमुत एनीवेज मोकले सो कत तम पे वुन तान पान वन लड़ाई वन कहीं नसा मून और वन 10 हसा जमूत 5 हसा जमूत मगर यन पे फिगर्स नबर द्राय कि कमिस कूत तकलीफ वो तन गो सह नरेटिव कम दयम कत ब्लेम गेम करान कशर मुसलमान वन जगमोहन थ्योरी कशर बट तथ यह नसा लड़ाई जस पान वन मसल तिमन पे ना कथ करान तिमन चीजन पे कत करान यमन सह वाट गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉई तम सात पुलिस आर्मी या एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन दे आर ऑल रेस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द गुड फॉर द बैड यह तिमो रुत कोर तम बापत एप्रिशिएट तिमन कर यह गलत कोर तथ जवाब तिमन दिन वनकस बड़ बार प्रॉब्लम कि टीवी यथ मन जूमन मन या पान वन समखान दिल गसान यल मगर यम सात यह दोहले प्रोसेस कोर्मुत कि पान वन दिल साफ कर शामनस टीवी स्टेशन पे बेहान या मुसलमान मौलवी सबा वोथान या पंडित सबा वोथान टीवी पे तिस कथा वन कि 10 वरियन मेहनत सारी जाय गई। I mean, kashur, یہ چھو کلچر اکھ چاہے بٹہ آسہِ چاہے کٲشُر سکھ آسہِ یا مسلمان آسہِ اَسہِ پَزِ پَنٕنۍ کلچرل آیڈنٹی یۄس چھِ سۄ چھِ اَسہِ کُنہِ صوٗرتہٕ زِنٛدٕ تھاوٕنۍ کٔشیٖر منٛز چھِ کینٛہہ چیٖز ییٚمہِ سۭتۍ زن کٲشرِس مُسلمانس خاص کر یُس زن ییٚتہِ اوس تتھ منٛز چھِ کٲشِر بَٹہٕ تہِ کینٛہہ اصل نمبر اکھ کٲشِر سکھ تہِ چھِ تِمن تہِ وٲتۍ تکلیٖف مگر تِہنٛدِس تکلیٖفس ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ رِڈِکیوٗل آو کرنہٕ ٹی وی ڈِبیٹن منٛز یا رایٹ اپن منٛز یا کِتابن منٛز تمہِ سۭتۍ چھِ أسۍ دوٗر گژھان اکھ أکِس نہٕ أسۍ چھِ نزدیٖک گژھان یِتھ کٔنۍ أسۍ ییٚتہِ اَسہِ کٔرۍ واریاہ کینٛہہ نفری یِم زن یتھ بٲے برادری منٛز زن ٲسۍ دڑاڑ یژھان تراوٕنۍ اَسہِ کٔرۍ تِم ڈِس اون وارٕ 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 تِم درٛایہِ سیٖنہٕ منٛزے نٮ۪بر مگر دوٚیمہِ سایڈٕ اگر أسۍ وٕچھو کٲشِر بٹہٕ کٔمنِٹی چھُس بہٕ رِکویسٹ کران بھائی اگر اَسہِ منٛز کانٛہہ غلط چھُ أسۍ چھُنہٕ سُہ ڈِس اون کران یِتھے کٔنۍ اگرے تۄہہِ منٛز کانٛہہ نفر چھُ سُہ یُس زن اَسہِ دراڑ بٕڈراوان چھُ تُہۍ کٔرِو سُہ ڈِس اون ادٕ گژھِ اَسہِ پانہٕ ؤنۍ نا یِمن منٛز تہِ اگرے کینٛہہ غلطی چھِ یِم چھِ مانان اَسہِ مٲنۍ پننہِ غلطی ادٕ ہٮ۪کو أسۍ میٖلِتھ ریٖسنٹلی گٔے ییٚتہِ کینٛہہ کِلِنگٕس اصل پٲٹھۍ ٲسۍ بیٚہوان بدقٕسمتی بدقٕسمتی اکھ تیُتھ نریٹِو اکھ گوٚو تھرٛوٗ آوُٹ انڈیا تیوٗتاہ رِڈِکیوٗل تیوٗت آو کٲشُر مُسلمان I mean تیوٗتاہ ذٔلیٖل آو سُہ کرنہٕ ٹی وی ین پٮ۪ٹھ ہر کانٛہہ کٲشُر یُس زن کٔشیٖرِ منٛز بسان چھُ یہِ چھُنہٕ مِلٹن مگر لیبل چھِ یِوان تِتھ کٔنۍ چھُ ڈسکس یِوان کرنہٕ ٹی وی ڈِبیٹن منٛز کہِ اکھ اِمیج چھِ گژھان نٮ۪بر کُن وٕنکیٚس وٕچھِو تُہۍ کم از کم چھِ 8-10 لچھ ٹوٗرِسٹ وٕنکیٚس کٔشیٖرِ منٛز 3-3.5 لچھ مایگرنٹ لیبرٲرٕس چھِ ییٚتہِ یِم اصل کتھٕ چھُنہٕ کٕہٕنۍ ونان وۄنۍ چھُ آیند انشاء اللہ تعالیٰ چھِ یاترا گژھن واجٮ۪ن شروٗع 7-8 لچھ چھُ پرپوزل وٕنکیٚس باسان 7 لُکھ اگر نہٕ ییٚتہِ نارملسی آسہِ تیٚلہِ کِتھ کٔنۍ چھُ یہِ آوُٹ سایڈٲرٕس یور یِوان ییٚمہِ حسابہٕ میٖڈیاہس پٮ۪ٹھ یِوان چھُ ہاونہٕ تمہِ حسابہٕ چھُ باسان کٔشیٖر ہسا چھِ پوٗرٕ دزان مگر حقیٖقتن مےٚ ووٚن نہٕ یہِ کٲشُر بٹہٕ بوے مےٚ چھِ کینٛہہ فرینڈٕس تِم چھِ مےٚ نِشن یِوان بِنا کسی ڈر کے دوٚیِم کتھن ٲس اَسہِ بٔڑ بارٕ کتھ یُس زن أسۍ ٲسۍ ترُتھ گژھِ برونٛہہ کُنتھ یُن ڈیفنِٹلی مےٚ چھُ اکھ یہِ کٔرمٕژ اکھ کوٚر مےٚ ڈاٹا اکہِ دۄہ جمع 305 کٲشِر بٹن ہٕنٛز یۄس ڈیتھ گٔیہِ 2019 پٮ۪ٹھ تمیُک اوس مےٚ اکھ ڈاٹا بنومُت ناو ایڈرس سُہ کیاہ اوس کران کتھ جایہِ کِمو مور پوٗرٕ ڈاٹا کوٚر مےٚ اکھ کمپایل تیٖتِس کالس اوس اکھ یِوان وننہٕ ساسہٕ بٔدی 10,000 5,000 تہٕ 3,000 ٲس مٲرِتھ مگر فاینلی 2014 منٛز چھُ مےٚ یاد انوپم کھیر ہٕنٛز مسز کھیر تٔمۍ کوٚر پارلِمنٹس منٛز 293 فِگر کوٹ ناو دیٹ از ا رِکارڈِڈ سٹیٹمنٹ بٹ وٕنکیٚس تہِ اگر أسۍ پارلِمنٹس منٛز رِکارڈِڈ سٹیٹمنٹ ٲسِتھ تہِ تِتھ کٔنیتھ چھِ أسۍ یہِ کران کہِ اکھ تِم فِگٲرٕس چھِ برونٛہہ کُن انان یِمن زن نہٕ کانٛہہ حقیٖقتٕے چھِ ریپ کیسز definitely happened. No one can deny it. یہ ہر کسی کمیونٹی کے ساتھ ہوا یہاں پہ لیکن اس کو اتنا بڑا میں نے ایک دفعہ ایک ڈبیٹ میں ان کو بتا دیا کہ جو ہیں بھائی وہ ہماری بہنیں ہیں اگر کسی کے ساتھ زیادتی ہوئی ہے 90s میں وہ ہماری بہن ہے جیسے ہم نے اپنی نیلوفر کے لیے لڑا آسیہ کے لیے لڑا آپ ہمیں ڈیٹیل دے دو ہم بھی ان کے لیے بھی لڑے آپ بھی آ جاؤ ہم اکٹھے لڑنے لیکن یہ جو مکس کیے ہیں جیسے ایک انسیڈنٹ اسی ایک فلم میں تھا ہم نے پولیس ڈپارٹمنٹ سے ریکویسٹ کی گورنمنٹ سے ریکویسٹ کیا اس میں کبھی ایف آئی آر ہوا کیا یہ ہوا ہے ہر جگہ پہ آ رہا ہے کہ نہیں یہ ہوا ہی نہیں ہے اس کا کوئی ایف آئی آر نہیں ہے اس کی کوئی ڈیٹیل نہیں ہے تو میں جو ٹی وی ڈیبیٹس پہ آ رہا ہے میں کشمیری پنڈت برادروں سے ریکویسٹ کر رہا ہوں کہ آپ ان چند افراد کو بھی ڈسون کر لیجیے یا ان کو سمجھا لیجیے کہ ہمیں بائی بن کے رہنا ہے اب ہمیں لڑنا کب تک لڑیں گے اس وقت تو اتنا ہی کہیں گے انشاءاللہ تعالیٰ باقیوں کی باتیں سنیں گے تو اس کے بعد بات کر لیں گے
امتیاز صاحب thank you. Time has come, so we'll have to move up fast. I'll next call Yasmin Wani. Yasmin is a young advocate, so we need to have a perspective of young blood as well. So Yasmin, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Namaskar. Assalamu alaikum. میگے واریاہ خوشی کیا آز تھو کشرو پنڈتن تو کشر مسلمانن ہند پروگرام تاکہ اس کرو ڈسکس کہ اس کت کرن چھ واپس یون کشیر اس کت کرن چھ بھائی چار کرو. ان فیکٹ سنیل جی سے تھوڑا سا آئیڈیا اس کرے لاسٹ بفور کووڈ کرے اس اخ میٹنگ کرے اس سماوارس منزن نبر کن بٹ انفارچونیٹلی سہ گئی نا سکسیسفل کہین کہ بس ونان اس کرو تتھے کنن بی میٹنگس چاہے دہلی آسن چاہے جمع آسن چاہے کشیر آسن 1-to-1 میٹنگس روزن سکسیسفل ایز کمپیئر ٹو زوم میٹنگس کیونکہ اچھے یوتھن پانوین انڈرسٹینڈنگ کریں نہ کہ چلیے مطلب نہ میں مان لیتی ہوں کہ 40-50 ایئرس کے لوگوں کو they all understanding but youth understanding نہیں ہے کہ کشر پنڈت یم درائے then youth یم لکٹ بچی let us think about 30 years 25 years نہ تم کشر مسلمانن کن رخ کران نہ اسی کران تمن کن رخ کیونکہ we have a lot of crush کیونکہ جیسے کہ کشمیری آپ انڈرسٹینڈ کر ابھی کشمیری پنڈتن ہند مرڈر گو کہ اش آ کس کنڈولینس کران چاہے کشمیری مسلمان کلنگ گھان یا کشمیری پنڈت کلنگ گھان اچھا آ مگر ایٹ دا اینڈ کیا ہیکان اس کرت اس ہیکان تم روستی کنڈولینس روستی کرت کہین مگر ان ایل ایلیمنٹن کت کن ہیکو اس رکت یل اس اخ اکس سۭتۍ 1-to-1 آئی کانٹیکٹ کرو آئی کانٹیکٹ سۭتۍ نیرن واریاہ گرجز آسن کشر پنڈت بوے ون اور کہ مے کیا پرابلم چھ کشر مسلمان ون مے کیا پرابلم چھ تمی سۭتۍ ہیکو اس یونائٹ گژھت نہ کہ پالیٹکس ہیکہ نہ زہن یونائٹ کرت کیاز کہ تمن ہند اخ مدعا چھ کہ اس ڈیوائڈ کرن until and unless اس چھ ڈیوائڈ they are getting a votes all over the India تم چھ ساری زانا. Now coming to the another point یم سن کشر پنڈت بھائی یا پنڈت بین چھ entrepreneurs چھ تم کر لکٹ آؤٹ لیٹ یت سٹارٹ کشیر منزن تم سے کیا گژھِ یم چاہے تم کشر پنڈتن کرن ہائر یا کشر مسلمانن کرن تاکہ آفسس من سہ انوائرمنٹ کریٹ گژھان شاید گژھِ تم سۭتۍ اکھ اسی انڈرسٹینڈنگ اس کیا کرن لانگ رن خاطر سہ امپارٹنٹ. باقی ٹو بی ویری آنیسٹ مے تم وون دپن ات کن کشمیری پنڈتوں کو مارا گیا میں نے وون دپ سان FIR copy you get the documents I will be with you all the time maybe تم آسو سہ کس کانٹیکٹس منزن تو ہیکو تس ون بہ چھس ونان نو ڈاؤٹ کیا چھ گومت پتہ کیا نہ چھ گومت وی کین ناٹ ٹھیک ہے ہم ایک دوسرے کو سوری بول سکتے بٹ وی کین ناٹ چینج the circumstances whatever happened either we have to forget and move on کیونکہ اگر کسی کو بیٹا مر رہا ہے بیٹا مر گیا یا باپ مر گیا ایٹ دا اینڈ کیا ہوتا ہے کہ وہ فیملی موو آن کرتی ہے اگر اسی کے ساتھ بیٹھیں گے شاید ہم کبھی آگے نہیں بڑھ پائیں گے. اگر کوئی بندہ غریب ہوتا ہے غریب ہونے کے بعد وہ محنت کرتا ہے اس کے بعد محنت کرنے کے بعد پتہ سہ پکان موو آن گژھان لائف مز پتہ تس ریسورسز ایون دین موو آن. مجھے لگ رہا ہے کہ ہمیں موو آن ہونا چاہیے. مجھے باسان کہ اس پز نہ اخ اکس کہ ہمیں موو آن ہونا اور ہمیں ایک دوسرے کو کیسے کرنا ہے. اب ہمیں اس چیز پہ 1-to-1 کانٹیکٹ کرنا ہے اور اگر کوئی انٹرپرینور ہے we have to bring them in a valley so he can provide the jobs جس سے ویلی بھی بچ جائے and he can stay here his family can stay here it will be the one of the this is the best way we can mingle with each other again. Otherwise is be اخ چھ اکس کونس مز بہت بیاکھ چھ بیکس کونس مز بہت تو تم سۭتۍ ہیکو نہ دل کھین کرت what I understood. باقی دیکھیے
یاسمین جی your connection is very
کوئی
bad.
بولے گا ہیلو
یاسمین جی آپ کی آواز کٹ رہی ہے. I think your connection is very bad.
I'm so sorry. میں نے بولا کوئی بولے گا. I hope you are getting me now.
Yes, we got it. So So thank you for your kind words. We're also running short of time, so we'll just move on. Thanks a lot. We'll move on. I'll next call upon Mr. K.K. Khosa. Khosa Sahab is the president of Kashmiri Pandits Sabha Jammu. So Khosa sir.
Thank you, Vatul sir,
Hmm.
for letting me in. It's already 1 hour now. And since the time is very short,
Hmm.
very short, Panuniyus may vicharch one. But I will go back to what Ashok Bhanji started with. I'm here because Ashok Bhan is a friend, and any initiative he takes, I know it is full of sincerity. And I would like to express condolences to Pandit Saab for the loss of his sister before I say anything. One thing I will definitely like to say, that Bhan Saab started with saying that every government till now has failed or has not been able to recreate the mutual trust, or it has not been able to remove the trust deficit between the communities. I would like to comment on that first, that I have not seen any government taking any initiative in these 32 years when this gulf has widened to bring about mutual trust. There has been no initiative on this account. Governments definitely have ruled the state, they have governed the state in many respects and in every aspect of governance. Magar, you see, crucial issue to recreate, rebuild the mutual trust between the communities, which is the only guarantee for lasting peace, to re-establish in the strife-torn valley. This is my opinion, and I thought I would put it across. And therefore, without going into the history, because my learned associates on this program today have all stated in detail what transpired during these 32 years and even before that. As a humble Kashmiri, my considered opinion is that unless syncretic culture gets restored in the valley, we can never have peace in the valley. And for that, a structured dialogue process, this wonderful initiative notwithstanding, because Ashok Bhan has always taken initiatives and he has remained associated with the community, as well as he has remained associated with the civil society across the tunnel. But notwithstanding that, I believe that a structured dialogue process, not only between the two communities, but across the board, involving all the stakeholders of the state, is of primary importance. The government has to realize that, understand that, and initiate that. We, as my introduction was given, umpteen times we have requested the government to organize this kind of a meet amongst the stakeholders of every region of the state. Because unrest in one area or amongst one small ethnic minority of stakeholders is going to lead to unrest amongst the entire population of the state. All said and done, we have to live together. All said and done, we have to try and recreate that kind of an atmosphere, environment which used to prevail here. But at the same time, we cannot forget that at the moment, tempers have run very high, new developments have taken place. I was in the valley for a week in September 2021, and no sooner did I leave that place, that was on 2nd of October 2021, that we had the first targeted killing on 5th of September. And that set the ball rolling. Till date, tremendous uncertainty has again erupted. Even today on this International Yoga Day, I was seeing a small video where these PM package children, they were again lodging their protests through yoga exercises. So this is the condition which is prevailing here, and the government has to step in, take initiative, bring all the stakeholders together in an organized way, because I must say that it is not only inter-community distrust which is there, but in both the communities, we have n number of people who think that they are the representatives of the community. Thank you very much. I will not say much beyond this, but because this initiative has been taken, maybe next time I make some more points to see that we reach to some conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khosa Sahib. Well, we heard Kashmiri Pandits, we also heard Kashmiri Muslims. I am now trying to bring in a third viewpoint here. We have with us Manmeet Bali ji. She belongs to the Sikh community. So I would now request Manmeet Bali to give us her viewpoint. Manmeet ji.
Hanji, thank you so much to the hosts and all the dignitaries present here. So Adab, Namaskar and Sat Shri Akal too. As I am the Kashmiri Sikh stakeholder here, and ironically or fortunately, I'm traveling across Kashmir as of now, and it's very uncanny that I am coming back from Pahalgam after visiting Martin Temple, Chithi Singhpura and Ash Muqam. So that speaks a lot. And I'm traveling with my driver, Muzaffar, who's taking 3 women, all Sikh women. And he's enabled our travel, and he's been so nice and so courteous. And all the people have come here after maybe 4 years. मैं 4 साल के बाद आई हूँ यहाँ पे. And Kashmir च मैं तगन मगर you मगर I would also say people, because we also belong to the syncretic mix of Kashmir. The Milsar is there equally, and the culture is same. So I heard all the very distinguished guests here. Some I know personally, and some I have heard, and it was very, very, I'm traveling as of now, so please pardon if there's some disturbance in my voice. So what I would like to say after coming here after 5 years or so, 4 to 5 years, that Kashmir is same. Kashmir में कुछ नहीं बदला है. कश्मीर को healing चाहिए, तो मरहम पट्टी चाहिए सबको. और वो मरहम पट्टी तभी हो सकती है जैसे घर में हमारे बड़े बूढ़े होते हैं, and they tell us that चलो कोई बात नहीं, पंजाबी कहते हैं मिट्टी पाओ, and कश्मीरी में बोलते हैं था क्या परवाह चलना. Let's move on, as Yasmin said. So moving on is very important, and for that it is very important to be compassionate and kind to the sufferings of each other. And as a Kashmiri Sikh, I know that our sufferings really are invisible because as a micro minority, whatever the numbers may be less, but given the percentage of people, the Kashmiri Sikhs living here, the sufferings are huge because it's a silent migration from a place where opportunities are very less and culturally diversity is lost. And what can happen now? So what is the way forward? So I, as a stakeholder, or maybe as a Kashmiri Sikh, I would suggest that Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Pandits, in my humble capacity, or any other Kashmiri Sikh who has a voice here, who can enable this? I mean, we can be the bridge. And let's not look at each other with mistrust and always have these conspiracy theories for each other, which are not really taking us anywhere and are actually detrimental to a collective cause of Kashmir, of all the stakeholders, not only one. So with that, I think I made my point that moving on is very important. And as Dr. Raj Nehru put it forth, that we all have stories. Let's listen to each other's stories. Nelson Mandela's Truth and Reconciliation can be a far-fetched idea, but a place where the trauma has been borne by all the communities equally, and all actually are tied by an umbilical cord, as was between India and Pakistan during the partition. And Abhi, the beauty of the sufferings of partition. If you hear anybody, I have so many people in my family who are from partition. They suffered the partition as well as Kabaili raid. Sikhs have suffered that also. So वो कभी भी bitterness के साथ नहीं बोलते हैं, वो अपनी sufferings को भी एक longing के साथ बोलते हैं. They are longing for what they lost. Okay, so I would say that longing is missing in all of us. And if we have a longing, and if we are really looking forward to real healing, not only actions speak louder than words. So let's be the bridges for each other and hold the hands and again कश्मीर को जन्नत बनाए. कश्मीर जन्नत है, जन्नत ही रहेगी. हाँ, हमारे को अपनी माइंडसेट को चेंज करना होगा और वो हो सकता है. So it's very, I really feel it gives me goosebumps that I'm traveling across Kashmir and I'm speaking on this, on a forum which is meant for Kath-Baath. And there was a forum made by the name of Rabta earlier by Jaibir Ahmed. He's a friend of mine. उसमें भी कश्मीरी पंडित और मुस्लिम को मिलाने की कोशिश करी गई थी और वो अभी भी हो सकती है. So I am always eager and always happy to do something for the cause and for my own micro minority. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, Manmeet ji. We now move over to Shri Raj Katru. Raj Katru sahab, are you there?
I'm here. Just 1 second.
Yes.
I thank you very much. Namaskar, Adabars, and Sat Sri Akal. I didn't know that we had a Sikh with us. I really don't want to say anything because you're running short of time, and it would not be right to go on discussing these things again and again and again. But simply before I like the idea of this young girl, Vani Yasin, engagement and forgiveness, and then covered up by Manmeet as a healing. This is the direction. Of course, we will go into the discussion of these things in the future. But I thought that is the idea. Imtiaz Sahab ne facts, put the facts as they are. And we need to develop out of this. We can, first meetings always happen, jahan hum baat karte hain, ye hai. But we need to develop a work plan, practical work plan. As kisi jaisa Manmeet ji ne bola, truth and reconciliation is, of course, the ultimate solution, but we don't have a Nelson Mandela here. So that's or neither do we have the Bishop Tutu. So we cannot go into that direction as much as trying to eliminate the extremists of both communities and increase the constituency of moderates and similar thinking people. And in order to achieve that objective, we need to develop a methodology and a work plan and so on and so forth. That cannot happen today, but thank you very much for inviting me. Adabas. next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katruza. So I'll move on. We have again, I was talking about young blood and young views. So we have with us Arshid Bashir. Arshid is a young advocate and we would want to have his views. Arshid sir.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Bilkul Janab.
Yes. Adab, namaskar, Sri Akal, salam to all. First, after listening to all the members, I'm a bit reluctant and hesitant to speak because for two reasons. One, I would develop a bit later. First, that two of my teachers are there in the panel. One, Merai sir, because I don't, it's very difficult for me to collect the courage and speak. But given if we see the 15 years and 17 years guys laying down their life for right or wrong reasons, so it becomes incumbent on all of us to stand up and speak this time, because maintaining silence would be very criminal. Then again, Ashok sir, as I say to my friends, the best thing that happened in my professional life is then when I moved to Delhi and I met Ashok sir there. It won't be an exaggeration, the impact he had on my personal life as a lawyer. I cannot even express that in words. But then, as I said, that the responsibility is shared, and it to be the part of this problem solution, the first duty that is cast on us is to speak what is true and help each other in coming out of this turmoil that we are facing. Sir, it was heartening to listen the small conversation between Merai sir, Ashok sir, and Pandit sir, where they exchanged certain past memories. Since I'm 90 born, I don't know what this Kashmiri in actual sense is. Milsar, just Manmeet ji as just said, I don't know what, but the sense I just got, it must have been very beautiful experience to live in that age, that era. Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, it would have been very beautiful. Yes, it would have been very beautiful experience. It's very unfortunate that we have been deprived of that life, that experience. But then, as Ashok sir said, that a ray of hope was seen by the father of the nation from Kashmir. And I would further substantiate that point by saying that the secularism that is innate to us, the Kashmiris, because it is 1,000 years before when Lal Ded said that Shivchi thel thel rozan mozan hunt musalman trukhay chuk panun pan parzan suiche sahiba se zainizan. So this concept is ingrained in us, this nature, the humane nature, so Ralnuk nature. So this is in us. All it needs is a bit finishing, as a hand holding with each other, helping each other to come out, as I said, come out of this disturbance and turmoil. Having said that, since the agenda, as we see, the contribution of Ashok sir has always been, his concern has always been this way or that way to help this society, this troubled society, to come out what it has been facing since last 30 years. He has earlier to this also had initiated certain initiatives. I won't rate it by measuring the success of those initiatives, but the concern, the genuineness, the sincerity Ashok sir and the like-minded people have shown, that is the silver lining, where we see that if these initiatives are taken forward, the like-minded people come together and move in the right direction. So sooner or later, we are definitely going to achieve the goals that we all aspire. Sir, almost there is hardly any aspect that hasn't been touched by the other members. From truth and reconciliation, proposed by Pandit sir, which of course will settle a lot of issues, which definitely will throttle certain issues that has been creeping up time and again, being narrated in because every interested party tries to narrate facts in such manner where he ultimately tries to gain some political mileage. Since if Pandits exaggerate a particular number for a particular purpose, it definitely is going to not help the cause which we all espouse, or Muslims for that matter, those who are supporting a particular cause, an extremist cause. If the way they project the killings of Muslims, so definitely that too is not going to help us. So Truth and Reconciliation Committee, as suggested by Pandit sir, is definitely the way forward, where we collectively we should impress upon the government. So if you want this system to end, of blame gaming, mudslinging to end, so we will all have to emphasize on that point. Then another thing that beautifully narrated by Saraf sir and others is that the realization of the sufferings and pains of others. I think this is the bottom line where we all should connect with each other and where we all should work. Once we empathize with others, definitely a sense of belongingness will emerge, and we will be more assertive in espousing, in working for the cause we are. Unless this trust deficit is removed, we are not going to gain anything. After listening all the members, one thing that I found was missing. There's, as I said, there is hardly any aspect that hasn't been touched beautifully by all the members, from Ashok sir to the last speaker. But one thing that I found that most of the speakers missed is because we live in a democracy, we live in a representative democracy, a parliamentarian democracy. We cannot negate the fact that despite being the part of the largest democracy in the world, can we deprive a particular section of a particular entity of a state, because we live in a federal system? Well, can we deprive them of the representation they deserve at in the representative institutions and decide for them without taking them on board? Isn't that something that the present day dispensation is imposing on us? And by imposing their views, ideas, depriving us of our representation, depriving us of our constitutionally guaranteed rights, and at the minor level, depriving us of having our local bureaucracy in the higher echelons of power, where they can at least make the policies at which we at the local level need. Because not everything is political. There are certain other aspirations that we associate with the people in power, where we want them to address and redress our grievances, where we don't need to delve into Azadi and 370. The other aspect is this: we have been being the part of the democracy. We have been deprived of certain. Even if, say, for the sake of argument, we say since matter is sub judice before the Supreme Court, it may not be appropriate for me to comment on that. But say tomorrow 370 comes back and 370 is not doesn't come back, will it be justified for a big state like India? Would it be able to justify its acts where there was no requirement of any political interference, any political ideology to redress our other grievances? Absolutely no. So the onus lies on the state as well. Because as we see, time and again, different political parties have tried to settle Kashmiri Pandits back in the valley. Whether a sincere move by them or an orchestrated move, a political move, I won't get into that. But fact of the matter is a policy has been framed. But at the back of
Arshid Saab, you are mute. Arshid Saab, you got muted. We can't hear you. No.
Sir, sorry for the inconvenience, sir. Sir, issue is we see,
and you will need to speed it up. We're running.
Yes, I will just wind it up. I will just in 1 minute I will wind it up.
Thanks.
Issue is, they try to accommodate Pandits back, but at the same time we see killings across the line where all the I would say the Kashmiris across the religious lines are intimidated, because Madam rightly said there is a silent migration as well, and there is another migration that is very prominent, that is at display. Pandits are migrating. There is another migration as well where because I want a peaceful life, I want a progressive life. So issue is, you cannot hold back Pandits if they want to leave the valley. You cannot hold them back on gunpoint. As we see, a policy has to be there. We need local government. We need somebody minus 370, minus Azadi. We need somebody to represent, to allay the fears. The LG Sahab, the other advisors cannot do any good to me, no matter how beautifully they construct the roads and other infrastructure. I need somebody who belongs to me, to whom I can associate myself. For that, we need to impress upon the government that as sooner the better. let there be a representative government in the valley who can allay the fears of all the sections of the society. Because there are repercussions to it, depression, other drugs. These things are the outcome of a big disease which needs to be addressed. If not Azadi, if not 370. But mine is that there are certain things which are very much possible within the domain of the government of India, which can be addressed. I think the larger, after seeing the members of this group, I see a larger responsibility is cast on this group. Not merely they coming and sitting in some place and having sipping tea and discussing old memories. A larger responsibility is borne on the members of this group, given the stature they carry. That is, you can associate like-minded people with you. We will be I and the people like me would be the foot soldiers of this group. You can espouse the cause. You can ask the government of India to redress the grievances which are non-political. And at the same time, connecting with the local masses here, bringing two communities together, be it the cultural programs, be it, as Vani asked me rightly said, you can set up because they can kill 10, they cannot kill whole Kashmir community, because it is the existential issue this time, as Ashok sir rightly said, existential issue not with my person, but with my existence, with my identity, Kashmir, that is being projected in bad light. There are the present day dispensation projecting this Kashmir Files movie. It reflects that that sense of the disbelonging, the sense of alienation is being projected, where we cannot just simply narrow it down and fix the guilt on those fringe, those whom we all dislike. But the onus equally lies on the other side, who can definitely play a much better role than all of us we together can. Thank you for your patient hearings, and thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Arshid sir. So just moving over in the interest of time, I would now request Gopi Krishan Muju sir. Muju sir, are you there? Gopi Krishan Muju sir. Muju sir. Muju sir, we can't hear you. Your bandwidth, probably your network is low, Muju sir. We can see you, but we can't hear you. Nawara Muju sir, we can't hear. Okay. Then let us move over. We have just been joined by Mr. Ravinder Pandita. Ravinder Pandita Sahab was struggling to join. Nimanos Katha Mobiles was Gadbad Gomut, but now he has been finally able to join, and he's done a lot of work on the Sharda front. He is very famous for that. Pandita Sahab.
Yeah. Am I audible, sir? Namaskar.
Bilkul Mara, Bilkul Namaskar.
I got a lot of problems today for the first time. Unfortunate that some error was showing continuously for the last 1 hour. I have been trying. Chaliye der aaye, durust aaye. All is that ends well. All's well that ends well. तो आज का यहाँ पे बड़ा ये अच्छा रहा जी, जो आप सब लोग इकट्ठा हुए हैं. I call all of you like-minded people, and we are there out to work out for a cause that is primarily to do something with Kashmiriyat also, as well as reconciliation and removal of the trust deficit also, which has happened during last 32 years. And in that connection, I would just like to add my own point. What I have been seeing and observing for the last 32 years is that since 2006, I am continuously in Kashmir, back in motherland. And maybe some of you might object to my word motherland, but I use it often because I am born in Kashmir. So my mother tongue is Kashmiri, so my motherland is Kashmir. And by nationality, I am Indian. I am proud of that. So कश्मीर का जो अभी मुद्दा चल रहा है कि क्या सरकारें कर रही हैं, बहुत पेचीदा मामला है। 1947 से 22 अक्टूबर 1947 को जब हमारे ऊपर ऑपरेशन हो जाता है, और तब से ही जो है ये एक बहुत बड़ी खलल जो है जियोपॉलिटिकल जो है ये एक पैदा हो जाती है, जिसको हम आज तक भुगत रहे हैं। चाहे उसको फिर हम वो सदर रियासत, प्राइम मिनिस्टर, कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली, आर्टिकल 370, 35A, down the line now we have come and we have reached this level now. अब इसमें कई बार मैं कुछ मौजू ऐसे भी हमारे होते हैं जो रियासती, जिसको मैं बोलता हूँ वर्ड, जो हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं, जैसे गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के लोग, POK के लोग, जो भी अभी बाहर भी सेटल्ड है, अक्साई चीन के लोग, लद्दाखी लोग. सो वी टेक इट एज ए कंबाइंड रियासत, वी आर ऑल रियासतीज. सो उसका भी हमें फख्र होना चाहिए. इसमें मुझे 32 साल की जो मौजूदा पेचीदगी है, जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, इसमें मुझे दिख रहा है कि हमारे लिए पर्टिकुलरली एक सोल्यूशन जो अभी दिख रहा है कि हमें बेफिक्र होके विद ए क्लीन माइंड, अगर हमें ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट दूर करना है और वहां पे वापस जाना है, जिस तरह से हम 6 मरतबा एग्जोडस हमारा हुआ है और 6 मरतबा हम वापस भी गए हैं, तो मैं उन लोगों को बोलता हूँ भैया ये भी तवारी का खंगेली है, ये खंगाल के मुझे बताइए कि 6 मरतबा क्या कशिश थी जो हमें वापस ले गई अपने मादरे वतन. कुछ ना कुछ पॉइंट्स तो रहे होंगे कि हम वापस भी गए हैं, चाहे वो हिस्ट्री है, कल्चर है, हेरिटेज है. ऐसे तो नहीं है कि किसी ने हमें कोई लालच दी, कोई पैसे लेके जो है रिश्वत दे के कश्मीरी पंडितों को 6 बार एक्सोडस फेस करना पड़ा और 6 मरतबा वापस आए. तो इसी तरह 7वीं बार भी जरूर वापस जाएंगे. थोड़ा सा वक्फा लगता है क्योंकि आजकल जो पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशंस हैं 1947 के बाद, वो नहीं इस चीज को जो है ना देखती हैं, वो तो पॉलिटिकल क्लास जो है पॉलिटिकल वे में देखती हैं, तो जिसको हम बोलते हैं वोट बैंक्स और पॉलिटिक्स, जिसको हम बोलते हैं सियासत. तो सिविल सोसाइटी का एक बहुत अहम रोल है जी. तो सिविल सोसाइटी का मैं हमेशा ही जो है आई ले एम्फेसिस ऑन द रोल ऑफ सिविल सोसाइटी. दैट इज दैट वी आर ऑल रियासतीज, वी आर ऑल वन जीन्स, एक ही खून है. तो हम लोगों को जो है लाइक माइंडेड लोगों को एक पहल करनी चाहिए. वी शुड सिट अक्रॉस द टेबल. पहले जो है थोड़ी दिक्कतें जरूर आएंगी, और वो बाद में फिर हो जाता है, क्योंकि 2006 से मेरा तजुर्बा ये है कि पहले मुझे भी 2006 में वापस जाने में बहुत कठिनाई हुई, और आज जब मैं जाता हूँ 2022 में, मैं तो ठीक LOC पे बैठा हूँ. तो टीटवाल जैसे गाँव में जो हमने देखा भी नहीं था, सोचा भी नहीं था कभी जाएंगे, और वो भी इस माइग्रेशन एक्सोडस के बाद. तो मेरा डेरा है वहाँ 7,000 रुपये पे ले रखा है, खोकर मोहल्ले में मैं रहता हूँ. तो अगले महीने भी मैं वही हूँ, तो आप आ जाइए, सब लोग इन्वाइटेड है वहाँ. ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट कैसे दूर होएगा? सिविल सोसाइटीज जब तक सामने नहीं आएंगी, ये मैटर ऑफ फेथ्स नहीं है, फेथ्स को अलग रखिए आप, ह्यूमैनिटी आप सामने ले आइए. हमें एक दूसरे से मिलना बहुत जरूरी है, एक दूसरे से समझना बहुत जरूरी है. और समझ के मुझे ये नजर में आया 2006 से कि कोई कठिनाई नहीं है जी, कोई तकलीफ नहीं है. ये पॉलिटिक्स जो है, ये पॉलिटिकल क्लास ही इसमें कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा ले आते हैं जो होता है. तो इसमें मुझे दिखता है जी कि टेम्पल्स एंड श्राइन्स हैं जो हमारी जियारतें रही हैं, जिसको हम साझा भी करते थे कई बार. जो है हम लोग भी मुस्लिम जियारतों में जाते थे, मुस्लिम्स भी हमारे यहाँ आते थे, उठते बैठते थे, जिसको हम कल्चर और हेरिटेज कहते हैं. उसको बढ़ावा देने की जरूरत है. प्रिजर्वेशन ऑफ कल्चर एंड हेरिटेज इज द नीड ऑफ द आवर. एंड उस कड़ी में मैं ये देख रहा हूँ कि जितने भी हमारे टेम्पल्स एंड श्राइन्स हैं, अपनी जो लाइफ टाइम में जितना भी रिवाइव हो जाए, रिक्लेम हो जाए, और अपनी तहजीब सकाफत को हम बढ़ावा दें, मेरे ख्याल में वो क्लोजनेस की तरफ ही हमें ले आएगी. पॉलिटिकल वाले पॉलिटिकल डिस्कशन करें तो ये बार बार हम भी बोलते हैं, मैं भी कई बार बोलता है पॉलिटिकल, सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट, पर मैं जरा सोशल की तरफ ज्यादा ध्यान दे रहा हूँ. और किस तरह से हम जो है थ्रू टेम्पल्स एंड श्राइन्स, हाउ दीज आर द नर्व सेंटर्स, how reconciliation can happen, how return can happen. So initially I see since 2006 we have rebuilt about 20 temples or shrines out in the valley, and latest one last year is the Benipura that's on the outskirts of Baramulla, Jambaspura on the right on the hill. And without security, we are there. And we'll try, and again, we'll tend to be without security because it's a matter of faith and matter of reconciliation. Onus lies on majority community, and we have been taken to due care of that. So I lay emphasis at the end again that we should try to preserve culture and heritage and go through those channels of heritage and culture back to the motherland and try to mingle with the majority community, as well as onus lies on majority community to accommodate us. That's how this this deficit of trust, this will be removed, and that's how we can go forward. That's the way forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravinderji. So I was looking for Ramesh Kaul. Is Ramesh Kaulji there, or he has dropped off? I think he has dropped off. The very fruitful session. So do we have anybody else who would want to speak up? Anyone else wants to speak? Feroz Saab, you want to speak something?
I think this is a good first round. Let's keep the effort on.
And we also have Inam Saeed, Inam Qadri. Inam, would you want to speak up? You wanted to say something, Inam? No, I think he's not hearing. So, okay.
Sunil ji, at the end of it, when you are done with every other speaker, please give me 2-3 minutes.
Yes, I think we should see which one. I don't think anybody else. I think we've covered almost everybody.
Can I come in for a moment?
Yes, Kosa sir.
Just one point which I would like to put across, and that is that often it is being said that the civil society in Kashmir should rise to the occasion. But I would definitely like to say that it's very difficult for the civil society in Kashmir to rise to the occasion on its own because of the threat perception due to the gun culture, which is still very much alive and kicking. So therefore, the initiative from the government is very important. Even when people came from Government of India, wanted to talk to political parties after every unrest which took place, whether it was Burhan Wani episode or whatever it was, people were reluctant to talk to even the government agencies or the government representatives, because the fear of the gun was there, that once we come out, again we might be targeted. So this much allowance we must give to the civil society of Kashmir, because they have to live there, their kith and kin are there. And if we say that they must take the initiative and come out in the open, I have my sympathies and reservations towards that kind of an idea, which many of us try to float on occasions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kosa sir. So, Pandit sir.
I just wanted to say that if this group has to play an effective role in bringing about, or bringing the two communities together, then I think it will have to have a clear view on certain issues. Now, in what form it will be communicated, as Khosa Saab has very kindly cautioned, that it has to be done very cautiously, so that people don't become vulnerable. But at the same time, a message has to go. For instance, I'll just give you an example: the issue of Kashmir files. Now, I'm sure most of the people in this group will agree that only one side of the story has been projected. Although that is based on fact, most of it, almost whole of it is based on fact, but only one side has. So therefore, this kind of the group will have to have a stand, and with people like Ashok Bhan Saab and others who command certain influence, at the leadership level. So they must also convey this kind of a feeling. I will also mention Ogra Saab in this case, because he also has command over certain communication channels. This is one. Second thing that I would like to say is that if we think of dependence on government, if the minority community thinks that it can only live in Srinagar if it is provided security and all by the government, I think it's a mistaken notion that has been proved by what has happened over a period of time. So it has to be essentially the confidence between the two communities, which has to be evolved and which has to be nurtured. So that is very, very important. And don't think of depending on the security arrangements that are, after all, even if you set up this kind of colonies or settlements, you still have to come out. You still have to be a part of the larger society. So this is another point which I would like to say at the end of this whole discussion. It's been a very fruitful discussion. I must say thank you very much, Ban Saab and Vatal Saab, for taking this initiative. Third point that I would like to mention is Godi channels. Unless and until you express some kind of resentment with them, it's going to continue. The Godi channels really shame people from Kashmir having even moderate views. There's no question of any extremist views. We are not for anybody who holds extremist views. But even those who want to just talk about the basic human rights of Kashmiris, they jump on him, they call him a terrorist, anti-national, and so on and so forth. So that something has to be thought of for containing these Godi channels. What has been mentioned here, I think whether it was Khosa Saab or someone, no, I think it was somebody else who mentioned about the structural dialogue process. I think Razdan Saab or somebody mentioned this. Structural, that has to be a structured dialogue. And then, we have to also attempt to bridge the gap between, not only between the community, between the individuals, but it also between the communities, the two. Because you would have seen over a period of time that, the behavior of a person is, as an individual, is different from when you are, part of a group or community as such. So that gap has to be slightly bridged. How we will do it, it's a very tough task. I will appeal to all the thinking persons like Ban Saab, Vatal Saab, Ogra Saab, Razdan Saab, Rajkachur Saab, and others who can do the thinking in this, how this can be done. This is another very, very crucial issue. Then a point was mentioned by Mr. Bashir Rashid that, depriving the people of the state from the right of representation is a very, very important point. So in what form at some point of time this question of representation can be brought in? For the time being, we want to keep away from the politics of it. But it has a human rights angle, although, the people's, rights angle as such. Similarly, on delimitation, what has happened, it's all known. On language, what has happened. So these are issues which the steps taken have tended to widen the gap between the communities. So how this will be tackled, you will have to give a thought to this. Last point that I would like to say is, if you really want to do something about this whole thing, bridging the gap, you will have to catch the bull by the horn. And that's what I said, setting up of a commission, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, more from the point of view of catharsis than simply getting those, crunching the numbers. It's not so much that, but it is the catharsis which is important. And so therefore, that you will have to think of it. And if a group like this, commends this suggestion, I think at some point of time, this will come about. I have personally seen what it did in South Africa. I had the benefit of visiting South Africa, heading a delegation, and how it has helped there. So it can also help here. Why not? It's not such a big deal at all. Anyway, thank you very much once again at the end of it. It's been a very useful dialogue. But if it has to produce some results, I think you will have to think about some of these in depth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pandit sir. Ban Saab, would you want to give any concluding remarks?
Yes, one or two points I wish to make. One, that I was greatly relieved by Mohammad Shafi Pandit Saab because he almost concluded the proceedings in his own way. He's far more experienced in concluding such meetings because I have seen him working as secretary in Government of India also for a while. And he's possibly the first of the Kashmir's IAS, Indian Administrative Serviceman. So therefore, with his vast, experience, he has summed up and given us few thoughts. So my point is that we wish to continue this exercise as an uninterruptible interaction. You saw it, our effort was that of all the age groups, from Valley, from Kashmiri Pandit, and from Sikh community also, we have tried very hard and we have worked hard to get all of you on board so that we can take it further also. And I have a lot of, I am very optimistic on Kashmir situation from day one, because I know that Kashmir's richest heritage and civilization will fail any attempt on foisting any alien order, socio-political or cultural, or even religious order on the people of Jammu and Kashmir, because people of Kashmir have a great resilience and they live with their past. They have a very richest past heritage. So therefore, I have an incorrigible optimism, and it needs to be sustained now. In these dark days, we have taken this first initiative. We wish to carry it forward, and I am encouraged that in the recent past, the spiritual, religious leaders and peers have also come open and said that we must have intra-faith and intra-community dialogue. And we'll, if all of you permit, and we'll have one more session, and then we'll grapple with few more issues. And then also we come to a conclusion that we can reach out to those spiritual and religious leaders also, so that we get some strength at the civil society level. We'll leave the political part of it for the end game, because politics is very important at the end of the day. Because without politics, we cannot, and Kashmir, is a place which breathes politics, which sleeps with politics, which eats with politics. So politics is all pervading in all the families there. So without politics, we can't do anything. But these, I have been taking such initiatives when I formed the Kashmir Committee and involved the most illustrious people and people of high stature to give respectability to Kashmiris to engage with the dialogue with the citizens of India. That time, there was nobody prepared in the government or within the citizenry to engage with Kashmiris, because the Kashmir's image was so projected that it is all terroristan and it is nothing, no Kashmiri is reliable. I think I was the first person to have involved some topmost citizenry of the world, legal luminaries, and we engaged with the civil society. And that time also, our Shafi Pandit Saab was on the forefront of encouraging those initiatives. It did yield a result. The result was that Kashmiri separatist leadership came and had a dialogue with Government of India. They were given a chance even to visit Pakistan. But what later happened, we don't know. That's all politics. But we have done in the past very credible and structured dialogues with the non-mainstream politics of Kashmir, just in order to mainstream the Kashmir's polity. But today's context, is a different context. The context is that the bigotry, communalism, and targeted terrorism, this is a newer challenge. And this newer challenge has to be fought, and the fight has to start from the civil society level. And we'll take it to the logical conclusion. I promise my friends that I'll do my effort, whatever I can, but it is only with your inputs, with your support at various levels I'll be seeking. And we have a very informed group of thought leaders with us who have some influence. And today also you saw, we have the most pragmatic thought inputs which came up. We have young leaders like Raj Nehru. We have a Sharda leader who works for amity between across and us. And his USP is his cap. He's known globally for his cap and his articulation on Sharda. So we have many thought leaders with us. Mohammad Shafi Pandit is repository of a very large influence on the civil service, on the civil society. So are everybody, each one of us. So Arshad Bashir is here, he's a young lawyer. Yasmin was there. So Manmeet was there. So we are trying to balance it between the older generation, the middle generation, and the young generation. And I like the idea of Yasmin that we must involve more and more younger generation people who are born in 1990 or afterwards, so that they interact and they understand the importance of being Kashmiris. So with that, I wish you all well, and I thank you profusely that you given us the time and your valuable thoughts, and we'll compile it. It's already recorded, and I'll ask Sunil ji to share with all of you the recorded version of our conversation. And then if any points are to be made, each one of you is welcome to give us thought process in writing. Sunil will send his email or website, whatever we have created, and you can give your inputs into that so that we compile something and take it forward in the next level. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Ban Sahab. With that, we come to the end of this session. And again, on behalf of Kashmir Policy and Strategy Group, I would like to thank each one of you for your valuable inputs and your time. And this is just a start. These are baby steps. I think there'll be more such interactions. And as what came out of this whole session was that we need to have more interactions, more one-on-ones, and engagement. So engagement is the key. With those words, I'll close this session. Thank you. Good night, all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ji. Adab and namaskar.